Yeah, that they're, unbeknownst, I think, to a lot of the people in America and the public, that there are people monitoring. They're hired by the United States federal government that monitor your conversations on these. And I'm assuming not just talk radio, but your social media in general. And I was shocked.
I'm sure you're familiar with the scandal with Facebook where all this information, even medical information, as I understand it, it's been shared and sold, and Zuckerberg just thinks, oh, well, that's just fine. We told everybody we were going to do this or something like that. And apparently there's this big scandal now where privacy's been massively invaded. It may be, even from what I've been reading and seeing, it may be class action lawsuit material even.
Yeah, but I think Microsoft, all the big guys have been down this road before, and they usually prevail to one degree or another, with a slap on the wrist, a fine that represents, just a very small part of their income and what they actually, their assets. It's usually a dog and pony show put on by the government. Bill Gates survived his antitrust lawsuit several years ago quite well. He's still like up in the top 5 or 10 wealthiest men in the world, and Zuckerberg will too. He'll survive. People are telling me that at this point in history that Facebook, everybody's gravitated to Facebook for their marketing and advertising. Like I told you, I'm starting to dabble in real estate, and I'd say 95% of the people I'm talking to are they're saying they're putting the big money into Facebook because you get a bigger bang for your buck, on social media than you would at traditional advertising.
And by the way, there's something called alt tech, and I want to interject this while we're talking about this. I don't know if you're familiar with alt tech, alternative tech or not, but there are a lot of sites springing up as a reaction against Facebook and YouTube and what is now becoming known as the established internet media. And these alt tech sites are still Wild West. They're still very freedom of speech. They're against the censorship. They're against this monitoring that you and I were talking about. One of them is known as Minds, M-I-N-D-S, and it was created as an alternative to Facebook. And I've been on Minds now for about 6 months. It's similar to Facebook in many ways. I like it better in some ways, not as well in others. It's still growing, and it's going to go through growing pains, but it looks very, very good. I do post links to all of my YouTube videos there on Minds. I do post blogs and articles there as well. I do belong to a lot of groups there on Minds, just as I do on Facebook. And in many, many ways, it's virtually identical to Facebook other than, different layout, and the look is a little different. But as far as functionality goes, a lot of what you do on Facebook, you do on Minds as well. So it is a great alternative. Similarly, there's an alternative to Twitter that's known as Gab, G-A-B, and you actually can type in a lot more characters there. I think it's something like 300 characters that you can do in a Gab, whereas on Twitter you're limited to like 140 characters or whatever. Twitter recently enlarged theirs, but it's still not that big as far as the amount of words or sentences you can actually type into a Twitter or a tweet. But on Gab, you get to talk a little bit longer, in your statement that you're making. And you can post links to videos, and I do that too. So I use Minds and Gab and Facebook primarily as promotional devices, for my radio show here and for the YouTube videos I do, and even for my business, for advertising that way. So I use social media very effectively that way. So definitely I think a lot of advertising is going to continue to go in the social media direction.
Yeah, that's from what I understand. That's where you're getting your bigger. You get, like I said, you're getting your bigger bang for the buck. You're reaching a bigger audience for less money, and your return on investment is greater, a lot higher. So I think that's going to be a trend we're going to see, and that's interesting. There's like from what you're describing, almost like clone type of social media, like what's it, Gab versus Twitter. Last time I was on Twitter, it just seemed like a haven for porn. I can't get through anything without, at least 3 or 4 different. You can't follow anybody or anything. It seems like without all this, pornography is rampant on Twitter. where you don't have that on Facebook, and then and I don't know about the newer ones that you're looking at, but it seems like it's a haven for Twitter's become a haven for that, and I'd like to see that change, but it's been established for a while now, and you look at you looking at the history of social media. There've been a lot of predecessors to Facebook that were never quite as successful. Like, there was a time when I thought that what was that one MySpace? I thought that
MySpace
would never be beaten down.
The biggest, the largest and most successful immediate predecessor to Facebook, I would say. And basically, Facebook took over and completely eclipsed and completely replaced MySpace.
Yeah, and I'm baffled. Like it seems like these kind of things have like they start up, they light up like a fire, they're like a supernova, and then their time in the sun seems to end, and then somebody else picks the torch up. And I guess Zuckerberg from what I understand, he had a lot of investor money. By the time he came along, there were people, including the Napster people, who had gotten beaten down very badly in the court of law that came in, and I understand that the Napster guy, he knew the ropes by then, and how to work this, and he brought in some big heavy hitters, and they put some serious money into Facebook. Zuckerberg's not like the genius, great genius that everybody would like to portray him.
No, and there's a very good movie about that and about his friends, and I think you've probably seen it. I think it's called Social Media. Good evening, Northeast Texas. Yeah. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Well, welcome to the show. I want to respond to something Dan had said earlier about this woman, the YouTube shooter, Nassim Abdab, and it turns out that even her viewers, Dan, were beginning to detect something. In another video, she responded to viewers who had begun to wonder if she was mentally ill. And she responded by saying, I don't have any special mental or physical disease, but I live on a planet filled with disease, disorders, perversions, and injustices. So, mentally she didn't think she had anything wrong with her, but she definitely saw it in everybody else.
And the rest of the world, right? Yeah.
That's common. Then she went on to say, if you are superficial, you will think it is heaven here, talking about the United States.
Right.
That you can go naked outside and have sex left and right like other animals without any morality, she said, in one video in Persian. But if you enter the system, you will see that it is worse than Iran.
Oh,
that's what her response was. Those who want to inform people against the system and big companies get censored, She was convinced that, that she was a victim of censorship there on YouTube. And
well, with all the algorithms, I'm sure she was censored in a way where things that she wanted people to see, they didn't see, and things that she didn't care about, they saw that. It's like my Facebook feed, I can't see my friends' feeds as much as I would like because they changed it, like, when the algorithms became, like, public knowledge, everybody already knows about it. They went from a type setting, like an option you had for your display, to where you could display the most recently posted or the top stories. Well, then they changed it to where that wasn't an option, and all you got was what it showed you. And so I'm pretty sure that the same thing is everywhere now, including YouTube. And YouTube, it would hit the hardest. You're only going to see the related videos that they want you to see, unless you're digging. And not a lot of people in America are diggers.
Yeah, I guess.
Or the world, I guess.
I can understand that. Yeah. It just seems like it's the same old. With money talks and the rest of it walks. And YouTube's YouTube's owned by Google, and I don't expect them to act. I don't expect them to act in any other business model and any other differently than the Google. Or any of the other ones that monetize things, it's always bad. I'm a computer scientist, and I could never understand how people became what they call clickstream millionaires. How the heck do you become a millionaire at a penny a click? I mean, that sounds to me like an overwhelming amount of work, or automation of some sort. But yes,
it's an overwhelming amount of pandering to the masses and playing off of their stupidity and the mindlessness that we all have inside of us that we latch onto. We get in that monotony of nothing for a while in our lifestyles and whatnot, and we just get stuck in that role. Well, the same thing happens with Facebook. I do it too. Facebook's a game. It's rated T for teen, and I scroll through there, and it's the game of Facebook. You like it if you saw it. You share it if you like it enough, and if you want to say something, go for it. And people just got stuck in that monotony, and they just accepted it all. And it's, with all of us who got introduced to the Internet and had life before the Internet, a lot of us are kind of looking at it like, what the hell? And
And both of you may be aware, and there's a really good article that I had started to look at earlier today, and I need to go back and reread it and study it. It's easy to find, and it says how social media is rewiring our brain. These people who are designing this stuff, where you like this and you click this button and you click that button, basically it's sort of like, I don't know, training a mouse to go through a maze. A lot of these behavioral experts in human behavior and in stimulation and reward and punishment and, all of the on and off buttons, the on and off switches that seem to motivate people's behavior. They know exactly what they're doing, and it is easy to sort of, shall we say, manipulate the public or steer them algorithmically in a certain direction. And, there's a lot of that, I think, going on with social. I do believe there's a lot of that going on.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, well, you got, hang on, let me make sure I can get the wording right on it. You say, like, how, I'm sorry, I kind of brain farted, y'all. I'm just going to let y'all know. I can't get the words right for my thought. My thought went away. There it is. Speaking of thought going away, you said how it's rewiring everybody, and you have all these behavioral experts that are saying that, right? So I have yet to see a youthful, I'm talking youthful, like I'm almost 30, so my age or lower, I haven't seen one of them aged behavioral experts. Now, hear me out. The reason why that's an important factor is because I have to say that I believe that evolution is very prominent with the fast forwarding of our rewiring, like our neurotic connections within our brains and everything. Like my kids are smart as a whip. They would classify them as ADHD. They have already, one of my children. However, that's just how they function. And so I don't think that it's rewiring or reprogramming. It might seem that way to those who are not born like in the 2000s, the millennials. It may seem like that to those who aren't born 2000 and later. It may seem like that to us. However, it can influence their programming, their rapid-fire programming that all the youth of today has now, the main Internet users, and it can influence their decisions, their choices, their perceptions of everything that based on, the algorithms that they give and the way that they make the Internet function for all of us to use. Its functionality has pandered to, like, soften, I guess, and kind of, herd everybody, if that makes sense. The term sheeple and such. It's turning it all into, the herd mentality. Is what it's doing.
That's what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, if you're on the same page with what I mean. You see what I'm saying?
The whole technique thing, like the CDC just announced that they feel that video game is excessive video game is a mental disease. Now you're talking about millennials, and I don't know anybody that has kids between, I guess, 5 and 30 that hasn't had issues with the kids being absolutely like hypnotized with these video games. I mean, they're obsessed with them, and it's like,
well,
and
do you remember how obsessed we were with
mental
bicycles?
Disease now. What's that?
We were obsessed with bicycles before the Internet. We were obsessed with trees before the Internet. This is once again, it's just like I said, it's kind of pandering to the new kids and trying to stabilize and create and kind of implement a herd mentality.
But with Internet, it's much more intellectual. It's much more electronic. It's much more instantaneous. It's different.
More involved.
We're in a different it's a paradigm shift. We're in the information age. It's audio and visual. So I would even say television, to a degree, was the precursor or the predecessor to that sort of got everybody prepared for what is now happening online, sort of. Television, was a passive thing, whereas with the Internet, it's interactive.
But here again, the Center for Disease Control never declared it excessive television. They may have. I don't know. It wasn't well publicized as a mental disease.
Well, you may recall all the way back in the 70s, Dan, when they were saying that violent juvenile crime was linked to violence on television that they were watching, and the idea that if the kids are watching too many violent TV shows, this is going to result in criminal behavior. So that theory at least goes all the way back. It goes even further than that. It goes back to the 50s, and then it was EC comic books. But in the 70s, they were talking about violence in the movies and violence on TV being a contributing factor.
Before that, it was the Beatles talking about "I Want to Hold Your Hand" on the radio.
Well, I don't think anybody ever accused the Beatles of inciting violence. But I do know they caught a lot of flack when John Lennon said the Beatles are bigger than Jesus Christ. That may be what you're talking about when everybody was destroying their. Well, a lot of people got upset and were destroying their records. But
all right. Miscommunication. All right, miscommunication. My intent behind the statement was more so along the lines of the excessive conservatives who want to sit there and blame the TV for their kids being upset instead of looking at how their child was reared. Those same conservatives that freaked out back in the day because what on earth are they talking about? And oh God, Elvis is gyrating his hip. That's going to lead to inappropriate, that's stupid. It's a stupid argument. I'm not giving it validation. I'm just, recalling it as an example of. Yeah. Yay! Cool understanding now. All right. Sorry.
Well, I want Dan to weigh in on something that he's mentioned in previous shows. And that's a lot of guys like Billy Joel, and you named off a few others who were there watching Ed Sullivan on a certain Sunday night when they premiered in the United States, and how those young men got inspired to a future music career. I think
you're going to find so many people start, and we can go, we can visit like Joe Walsh and so many other people have made the statement that I think it was a night in 1964.
Right, it was February 64.
The Beatles, and this had a bigger impact than even Elvis when Elvis was on that. So that when the Beatles came on, and these boys, 13, 14 years old, so the reaction of the girls in the audience, I think every one of them to a one said, "That's what I want to do." They saw these four guys.
And so literally, Dan, the sales of electric guitars and drums probably soared the next week, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, the Sears Silvertone. Yeah, everybody, Bruce Springsteen, all of them said, I got my first guitar out of the Sears catalog, and it was right after that appearance of the Beatles in '64 on Ed Sullivan. They all the baby boomers, all of a sudden, that's what I want to do.
Thank you, buddy.
Sorry. And a heck of a lot of great people came out of that. A heck of a lot of great musicians, came out of that night. We've got a whole slew of like classic rock people that really could play instruments and really did sing. They didn't have voiceovers and funny electronics and all this other stuff.
Actual musicians and actual artists, people who have a story to tell and could convey it with their skill through musical application. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of good things came out of that, and that was and that's because it was based in reality. Now there's like the concept of virtual reality, and young people live in virtual reality.
It's a literal form of escapism. Yeah, literal form of escapism. I personally had.
This little violence. I don't know if this comes from you're playing a video game, and a lot of them.